Hey, hey. Man, oh man. We are back for real. It's a beautiful fucking Saturday, man. Get the best college basketball slate of the season. Of the
Yeah, these
season.
second round games project to be a heck of a lot better than some of the first round games.
Best games of the season. It's gonna be fucking lovely.
Definitely project to be better than the first round games. I don't know. There's actually Dusty May gave a really good interview. They're asking him if there's ever going to be another Cinderella again with NIL. He actually had a really good answer for it. He just talked about how tough it's going to be, and he's right.
Yeah, NIL, good, bad, indifferent,
He's
however you
right.
fucking feel about it. It don't really matter.
Yep, he's right.
Hey. We are back. It is your boy Sosa Picks, joined by Spin Doc Sports, College Hoops RX, NCAA tournament time. It's a lovely start to the weekend. Yesterday and Thursday have given us all we can handle. Pause. It's been an amazing start to the tournament. Yesterday, some varying results. Spin, we're gonna go to you first. First of all, how you doing today? How we feeling? How's the Saturday morning treating you?
Oh, doing good, doing good. It was a late night last night, and it was Friday, so stayed up probably too late, and now got to go move a bunch of stuff out of my garage after we're off the air here. So that's going to be fun because not like Minnesota's warm, but hey, it's all good. And tonight get to go watch some high level high school basketball. Going to Williams Arena to watch some of the state championships for some of the kids that I used to watch and coach and whatever. So it's kind of their last run because this is for those that don't know, it's my son's senior year. So the group that he ran with, it's kind of all these kids last dance. So yeah, it'll be a fun day. How about you?
Oh man, I'm back at the casino today all day. I'm parked at the casino, hanging out with a couple of my homies, enjoying this beautiful degenerate holiday. So I'm excited about it. I think we're gonna have an amazing fairing from a betting standpoint, and we just gonna have some really good basketball to watch. Like that's the most important thing. We're gonna have some
Yep.
really A1 hoops, and I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. A1 hoops, making people money on the timeline, on the money. But yeah, let's go over yesterday, man. Let's get into day two. First and foremost, don't bet against Chris Beard in the first round. It's not going to work out.
Nope.
It ain't going to work out. He's like any elite coach. You give him time to prepare, he's going to have his troops ready to go. I gotta shout him out. Everybody was heavy on North Carolina. Even Vegas was heavy on North Carolina, and they came out and absolutely from the start of the game just absolutely blitzed North Carolina, handled business. Well, I'll start there. We'll go. Yes, as far we can touch on that game, or you can touch on whatever game yesterday that caught your eye, or just changed your perception maybe of a player or two,
Yeah.
or a team or two.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I learned, and I kind of talked yesterday about how Thursday, when it's a little more chalky, Friday can be a little more chaotic. You've had time to watch teams, you've had time to kind of get settled, kind of see where things land. Didn't really get that yesterday, and I think that I was actually in preparation for scouting stuff today. I actually watch a lot of coach interviews and post game stuff because you can just get kind of a read on their temperature of how they're feeling about their team. And they asked Dusty May, because he was one of them, kind of a mid major that made a Cinderella run, and they asked him if he thinks that that's going to happen again, and he gave a really good answer. He just said, with NIL, with all the big money now coming in. And, really, he didn't say it, but he kind of alluded to, like, it's not really as level of a playing field anymore is that it's probably going to be tough to see a Cinderella run. And so I think that we're probably going to have to get used to, very, very few mid-major darlings coming out of nowhere, making a run, like your George Masons of old, like when Shaka took VCU to the Final Four, stuff like that. It's probably going by the wayside now. You saw it last night. Liberty was a trendy pick. I never got that one. They just got the hell beaten out of them. I one of the plays that I will take full responsibility for, Grand Canyon, Maryland just smacked the shit out of them. That was a misread by me. And then elsewhere, you had obviously a lot of the stuff on day one, and then another trendy pick, which I never got. I saw a lot of steam online about Lipscomb, and I said in our first spaces about this tournament, I said don't sleep on them. But the more I dug into it, I just left the game alone because Iowa State just was miles better, and it showed yesterday. Even somebody like Michigan State and Bryant. I mean, Bryant hung around for a half, but then you get Izzo, you make some halftime adjustments. I'm assuming based on how his team played in the first half, he probably said some words that have 4 letters in them at halftime, just knowing Tom, and they came out like gangbusters. So, I think that we're probably not going to see a whole lot of, kind of like even like a Fairleigh Dickinson, stuff like that. It'll happen every once in a while, but you just, kind of like, or
Peters,
just kind of like
most recent, probably like a St. Peter's too. Like those are so few and far between, bro.
Yeah.
So few and far between. It's a tough move.
Just kind of like the little school that could. It was hard enough back when you didn't have NIL, but now that all this big money is infused into the big programs, I think that this is probably what we're looking at for the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament, kind of going forward. I mean, even yesterday, I think there were 5 games or less that were decided by under 10 points or under 9 points, because New Mexico ended up winning by 9. And they were the games that you would have thought, the 7-10 game, the 8-9 game, stuff like that. Other than that, I don't think that you're going to see a whole lot of just, little tiny schools that never say die and play as a team, Hoosier style stuff.
And also a team like New Mexico is still a state school. They're not small. So they got money.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Speaking of that game, Shaka Smart, complete disappointment as a head coach. I mean,
that was my next thing I was going to say.
They were right there. They were right there. You had everything in front of you, 4 minutes left in the game, and they just shit the bed, bro. Embarrassing. That was embarrassing to watch.
Yeah. Since leaving Texas, since leaving VCU and going between Texas and Marquette, Shaka has been eliminated in the first round of the tournament 4 times. He's failed to make the tournament twice. One was a COVID year. He's made it past the first round twice. He's made it to the Sweet 16 1 time in the last 10 years. Overall record of, I believe, 3-8 since that point. Since taking VCU to the final, and actually, since taking VCU to the Final Four, he is he's only 5-12 in the NCAA tournament since. So the story of Shaka, 2010 or 2011, he took VCU to the Final Four on that magical run, and there was only his second year at the school. Since then, he's 5-12 in the NCAA tournament and has never been past the Sweet 16. So I don't think it's unfair at this point to, say that, is he a good coach? Yes.
He fucking sucks with the money. For the money, he fucking stinks. We just gotta call it what it is.
Bro. But what I'm saying is, in the postseason, I think it's probably fair to call him a one-hit wonder. I really do. And it sucks because my brother has met him. Every story I've heard about, he says super nice, very engaging guy, great guy, but you got to get it done in March. You have to get it done in March, and he didn't do it again. And he had it set up. That game was ripe for him to win, because it's not like Richie Pitino put on a coaching masterclass last night either. Actually, there were points where I thought that both of them were trying to fuck the game away, to be quite honest with you. I'm actually not a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of his dad. I'm actually not a huge fan of some of the in-game decisions that Richie Pitino makes. But
you don't say. You mean to tell me somebody from Minnesota doesn't like the Pitino son?
Well, that's part of it. But
I know it's obvious.
But no, it's Shaka Smart failed again. And like I said, at some point you have to just look at his postseason and you have to just say, I think that VCU Final Four run was a one-hit wonder, because he's never even sniffed that much success ever since then. Elsewhere for me, I really liked what Baylor did yesterday. We cashed their money line in VIP. And it's also a good example of how coaching matters at this stage of the game, because Scott Drew made several adjustments in that second half. Every time Mississippi State made a run, he had an answer for it. He adjusted his defense. He adjusted his matchups. He adjusted the sets that they ran on offense versus slowing it down, speeding it up. Scott Drew coached his ass off that game. And I firmly believe that that's one of the reasons why they won, because Mississippi State is more talented than Baylor. Mississippi State has more athletes than Baylor, but they're close. But Mississippi State is the overall better team. Scott Drew coached a hell of a game yesterday, and
absolutely,
I love the guy. I love the guy as who he is as a person, how he resurrected that program basically from the dead when their previous coach had him like almost.
They had a lot going. They had a lot of issues just at that school in general, right?
Well, they did.
Just their athletic program in general. So the football program. Let's not even get started on what happened there.
Yeah,
but
and
then you have for sure, especially bringing home a national championship to Baylor at one point that in itself is enough.
And the simple fact that like he was in demand at that time too. There were several other programs that wanted him. And so he went to a place that was under numerous investigations, numerous recruiting violations. Dave Bliss, one of the fucking worst human beings I've ever seen in this game. Just one of the slimiest, sleaziest assholes ever. Just left that program in shambles, and one player murdered another, like literally shot and killed another one. Patrick Dennehy, God rest his soul. If you ever happen to read that story, there's documentaries on it too. But so two things. One, fuck Dave Bliss forever and ever. Guy should never get a coaching job ever, anywhere. And two, Scott Drew stepped into a job that nobody wanted, that had no scholarships, no money, no support, no anything. And in, I think it was like 8 or 9 years, built a national champion. I can't say enough nice things about Scott Drew. Also, everything I've ever read about the guy is that he's just a good dude, does it for the right reasons. His players love him. They stick with him. So huge shout out to Scott Drew, and huge shout out to the job that he did coaching yesterday.
Next. Quick, I'm just going to run through a couple of things really quickly.
Go ahead.
Let's see. Robert Morris proving that Alabama really doesn't play defense at all against whomever's on the other side. Shout out to Mike Jones, always high on Robert Morris. Didn't have him winning, but I'm pretty sure he bet him to cover. Shout out to Low Sports Picks as well. He told me early Robert Morris to cover. They covered, no problem. You mentioned Iowa State, really not going to get into that. That was belt to ass from start to finish. Same for the Duke game. I don't think anybody expected anything less from the Duke Blue Devils, just absolutely eviscerating Mount St. Mary's. Probably the best coaching job of the day was done. What's my man's name at? Is it Seth something at St. Mary's? What's his name? What's the head coach at St. Mary's?
Oh, you mean like St. Mary's Gales?
Yeah.
Randy Bennett.
Randy, best adjustments from first half to second half of any team yesterday. on both sides of the ball. Got Vanderbilt uncomfortable, and when they saw their opportunity at the end, they hit their shots. They put themselves in position. Vanderbilt still covered, but St. Mary's in the second half, probably the best performance of any team yesterday in the second half. Big shout out to them. We give the West Coast Conference a lot of shit. They have two teams that advance off the first round. Obviously, we knew that Mark Few was going to do that. That's a given. St. Mary's winning yesterday gives a little bit more validity to the case that the West Coast Conference might not be a one-team league. Other than that, Arizona obviously handling business. Had a lot of people talking about Akron. Akron was an offensive juggernaut all year. Went up against some better athletes and simply got outclassed. Xavier losing to Illinois. Any thoughts on that? I'm not going to get into the Michigan State game. The Michigan State game started slow, obviously found their footing, handled business. No surprises there.
No, the only thing I'll say about that game is depending on what line you got, you either got hooked or you cashed, because I gave it out as a free play and it landed exactly on 159. So I know that there were some people that messaged me, that sent me messages saying that they got 158.5. And so that hit, but the 159.5 was you got hooked by it. So it was very, very late at the end. Xavier had a chance to foul to get a free throw to cash everybody, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So and then that was the only part for me that I was rolling my eyes at. I actually had VIP go pretty heavy on the Illinois second half money line. That hit very, very easily. Xavier ran out of gas. They ran out of gas. They're when you're a jump shooting team and you're playing that many games in that short of a period of time, there's always a chance that you just run out of fuel at the end because Xavier doesn't really have the guys to kind of like ugly the game up and slow it down. They only know Sean Miller only knows how to play one way, and that's fast. And that's up and down. So they ran out of gas, and I really, really wish they would have had one more foul at the end there to hit for everybody. But I think of the people that sent me DMs, I think about half cashed and half didn't. So I guess that means the line was right. But so before we go to the plays, just give a shout out to people in the chat. YGFROG, salute to you as well, my friend. Love it, love it, love it. Yes, let's get it today. Thank you for joining. Moneybag Tone, always with us. Good morning, my guy. Adams Digest, appreciate you. Thank you, my friend. Good morning and God bless to you as well, Vic. And yes, let's roll. Appreciate that, guys. Okay. We're going to talk about this one in a minute, Adams. We'll come back to this comment because I know Sosa's got thoughts. Will Pudgett saying, I don't know how you say that, but Sosa.
Yeah, I don't know either, but shout out to you, my boy.
Shout out to you, Will. Luke Murphy, always with us. Welcome in. Checking in before I leave Wyoming Province. So we'll get you. So good. It actually works out, Luke, because we're on bright and early. So we will get you thoughts on this. We actually got a bunch of games to talk about, so let's just get right into it. And the first one I'll talk about it because it's Sosa. I'll introduce it because it's Sosa's game. We got the West. We got number 10 Arkansas against number 2 St. John's. We got St. John's, the Red Storm, laying 7.5 with a total of 144.5. Well, I bring the Ken Palm up. What say you about this game, Sosa?
All right. First and foremost, we all know I love Rick Pitino. He's like the father I never had. I'm a huge fan of the guy. I love what he's done in such a short time at St. John's. He's brought back a great historic program to the forefront, and I love to see it. Obviously, John Calipari taking the job at Arkansas this year. Partially because he had to be convinced that he needed to do something more for his legacy, which is rebuild a program that once stood for something and once was a juggernaut in the college basketball ranks, to bring them back to some level of notoriety or supremacy before he retires as a coach. He really has nothing to prove. He's made the University of Kentucky $1 billion. So that's just a quick, foreground for today's game. I personally think that this game should be a relatively wide open basketball game. I think that we're going to get a lot more points than people expect. And I think that when you look at Arkansas in this one, the way they've been playing, they've been up pace. Their paces, they've been upbeat. They trying to run. I love their execution in the half court in their last game was absolutely great as far as pick and roll offense. Adu, how do you pronounce the name Adu? You talk about pick and roll. You rewatch that game and Boogie Fland and DJ Wagner, just manipulation of the pick and roll was just outstanding. Watched the game against when St. John's played Omaha. Omaha got out kind of early. They settled in second half of the first half, and St. John's just absolutely locked everything down. In this one, I expect for it to be a wide open game. We bet on Arkansas's team total first half last game. We're doing it again. We get a number at 32.5. I think it's deflated. I think it's based on expectations of things that we've seen in the past from St. John's. Where people, I think the anticipation is that we're going to see a grinded out game. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think we're going to get wide open offense. I think these teams are going to try to get up and down, and I would not be surprised. I also lean the first half over, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a first half very, very similar to what we got in Arkansas's first game, which was played into the high 40s. So that's my anticipation here. Lean towards the first half over. First half team total, Arkansas over 32.5 at -106 on FanDuel. It's my first official play of the day.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that one. I actually have a play for this one for the total as well, but it's VIP only, which I gave out there. So for me, the thing that I look at is, and also I don't know if you saw, but Thero is probably going to be back today. He very easily he actually might be back today. So but the Arkansas guards are actually a lot quicker than the St. John's guards. St. John's guards are bigger and more physical, but the Arkansas guards are a lot quicker. And when you play a pressing, trapping style defense like Rick Pitino does, you leave yourself susceptible to some dribble drive and kick. Now, the other thing with Arkansas is that they have multiple guys who can take guys off the dribble. And so when you're Arkansas, you have a lot of opportunities to not only get shots off the bounce, but you also have opportunities to get to the foul line. So the other thing is what really confused Arkansas in the Kansas game, because they're built off the dribble drive. Sosa mentioned it. They're built off high picks. They're built off getting to the rim. They're built off a lot of high screens and guards like Fland and like Thero, if he plays, getting to the rim. It's harder to do that against a zone when you got a rim protector like Dickinson in the middle. St. John's not only doesn't have that, but Pitino doesn't play zone. He plays so if you watch, you might hear some people refer to it as a matchup zone. It's not a matchup zone.
They just peel switch. That's all they do.
This is a coaching point, is that because I've had parents on teams ask me like, well, why don't we play zone? And I said, if you play man-to-man with help principles and help side and help the helper, and have rotation like that, it actually functions and works and looks like a matchup zone. So you don't need, like, people think man-to-man is just like, Sosa's my guy, so I'm just going to guard him. And that's not man-to-man defense. What man-to-man defense is having spatial awareness of where the ball is, where the guys are going to go, helping guys out, jump and rotate. That's what St. John's does. It's not a zone defense. A pure zone defense is like what you'd see from Syracuse under Jim Boeheim. That's a zone defense. What Rick Pitino does is not a zone defense, and his guards are susceptible to being beaten by quicker guards off the bounce, which is exactly what Arkansas has.
You saw it in the first half against Omaha. The guards were getting right to the 10, bro. They were getting right to the 10. They just weren't finishing. They started the game well. About 6 minutes left in the first half, St. John's pulled out the handcuffs. And Omaha couldn't do shit the last 6 minutes of the half. I thought the team total under for Omaha was in question. They ended up scoring 28 points, but man, like that was unbelievable.
Oh yeah. Except for what you're going to get in this game is you're going to get a lot more athleticism, like a lot more athleticism from these Arkansas guards. So I can easily see a ton of points being scored in this game.
All right. Listen, we're going to get into an interesting matchup that, of course, you can only count on Spin Doctor to want to talk about. Bradley taking on George Mason in the NIT. George Mason laying 6.5 with a total of 131.5. I'm gonna let you take it away. I didn't even know these dudes were playing today.
I was going to say the NCAA is not the only tournament playing today. There are NIT games. And what I've also found is that there are opportunities to get value on NIT lines because all the attention are on the NCAA games. So there are situations where books just let their computers do the work because there's not going to be as much of a handle. There's not going to be as much action, so not as much adjustment on NIT games. So these two teams matching up, obviously for the first time in postseason, but you have a Bradley team who is one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. You can see it there, third overall, 39.6%. Not only that, but over their last month or so, they've been shooting even better. They're shooting and they're shooting well on the road too, because this game is at George Mason, because high seed hosts in NIT games. 56% effective field goal percentage away from home, and their overall three-point percentage 38.8% away from home. So Bradley has multiple guys that shoot close to 40%. So you got that part covered. Next is on the Mason side. George Mason is not the fastest paced team in the world. However, they played a medium pace, but what they really do is they get to the foul line so effectively. You see it here on their free throws attempted over field goals attempted, 14th in the country, compared to a Bradley defense that is 248th in the same metric. You also have a significant size advantage for Mason. Mason 126th in average height compared to Bradley 206. And you have, but for Mason, when you have Jalen Haynes here at 6'8", he's not only a legit 6'8", but he's a big 6'8". He's a big boy. And uses his body, uses muscle really well, gets to the line, and you have a Bradley defense that is more than happy to foul. Mason overall from the free throw line, not the best shooting team. It's been a little bit better lately, but you have this Bradley team who it really is a finesse team. Away from home, they're allowing opponents to shoot 22 free throws a game. That mark would rank sub 300 in all of college basketball. So you have I've talked before about the three elements I look for when I play a total. Number one is pace. Number two is three-point shooting, and number three is our free throws. For those that are like maybe watching for the first time that I haven't explained this before. Pace, obviously, the more points or the more possessions you have, the more points you can score. Three-pointers are worth more, and free throws, you get points with the clock stopped. So, overall, from a pace perspective, it's not exactly what I want to see. However, when you combine it with a total this low, and you have a Bradley team that can shoot the lights out from deep, and a George Mason team that gets to the line exceptionally well. You also have a Mason team that over their last three games is really shooting well from deep. 43.1%. They knocked down a bunch of threes against VCU in that championship game. They're also, over their last five, they're close to 40%. So Mason is shooting the ball very well. Bradley shoots it well to begin with. Mason gets to the line. Both of these teams are playing pretty high offensive basketball at this point. So the pace is really the only thing that, because both teams don't like play the fastest in the world, but you give me all that, you only give me 131.5, I'm interested. So over 131.5 for Bradley and George Mason. Again, not NCAA, not the only tournament happening today. And I think I might be one of the only college basketball cappers on X or anywhere that's actually looked into this game as deeply as NCAA tournament ones. So that's the first play. All right, next we will go back to the NCAA tournament. And I said, Sosa's got thoughts about Drake and Texas Tech. Texas Tech laying the 6.5. You got a total of 126.5. And Sosa, what do you think about Drake versus Texas Tech while I bring the Ken Palm up?
How do I say this? Trying to word it properly. Joe Jackson beat his child to greatness. Texas Tech is just going to beat the fuck out of Drake today, just for fun. This going to be worse than Not Like Us. This going to be worse than Certified. Y'all know. It's going to be worse than that. Texas Tech's about to beat the shit out of Drake today. I said it like that so we can get the clickable, the quotable. Texas Tech's a better basketball team. They have no answer. They will have no answer Drake will have no answer for Texas Tech today. Drake got the perfect matchup on Thursday. And I like how the first person to say that Drake was going to win today is a Mizzou fan.
It's PTSD. Right? Like, Adams has PTSD.
Oh, so I'm not tripping. I'm gonna just get out the way. My play in the game is Texas Tech minus 6.5. Texas Tech's gonna win and cover. We'll look up the score. Will be like 25-11. They'll land the plane. Drake might score 55 points today.
All right.
That's my expectation. I think Texas Tech, way better basketball team than Mizzou. Defensively, Drake will not be able to get whatever they want on every single possession. And again, I'm not a fan of the team. They perform very well against a team that we knew weren't that good, right? I'm not lying. We knew Mizzou wasn't that good. You knew you were on Drake in the first game. I'm obviously an idiot.
I would have been on Drake. I would have been on Mizzou if it was at Mizzou. I couldn't back Mizzou on the road all year, and obviously away from home is what I should say. But so in the comments we got Kicka stay trippy says you tripping.
My boy Kicka. I know, bro. Listen, the trendy pick right now is Drake. This is going to be worse than this is going to be. Listen, I think it'll be belt to ass. I think it's Texas Tech belt to ass. The 6.5, and I think they'll do it going away. I don't think it'll be close.
Well, Mike Furlow is riding with you. Welcome in, Mike. Thanks for joining.
My boy. And let's get it.
And Logan saying Texas Tech is not Mizzou, respectfully. Shout out to Adams, though. All love. Can't argue with that. Yeah, I am actually going to stay off this game. The number, if I get Texas Tech at 4.5 or 5 something, I might be interested. It's hard for me to take spreads like that for teams playing this elite of defense. I'd probably lean I thought I would be interested in the under, but that would probably be the cliche pick because this total is so freaking low. It's probably just going to be a stay off for me. I know I'm sounding, like I'm being like Switzerland here, but like I do get both sides of the argument. I mean, I love me some Texas Tech. I've loved Texas Tech all year. I think that they started off a little slow, but they took the best shot from a Wilmington team that played in the conference that I watched the closest because that's where my squad plays, and was really, really peaking at this time of the year and ended up handling them in the end. So, I would probably tend to agree a little bit with Logan that Texas Tech is not Missouri. Texas Tech doesn't have the same road shooting woes that Mizzou has. So I might lean on Texas Tech, but again, for me personally, it's probably just going to be a total stay off spot. And part of that could be my bias that for teams that play this elite of defense and slow down and ugly the game up, it can be hard to beat them by 6.5. But if a team can, it's Texas Tech. So I know I've just talked out of both sides of my mouth for about a minute there. So I'll let Sosa close it out.
Yeah, you completely changed my mind. I'm going to bet Texas Tech minus 9.5 and minus 136, and I'm going to bet Texas Tech minus 14.5 at plus 300. So see y'all after the game. Check my Twitter.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. We got some alt lines going. I think
my thoughts.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
Next game, obviously, we watched Creighton absolutely come out guns blazing first game. They look great. Taking on Auburn, a much different team than they faced in the first round. Auburn laying 9.5 with a total of 150.5. We've shared our thoughts on the game prior to the stream. I'm not going to get too in depth. I know you have a play, one that requires some sort of nuance. So share with us.
Thoughts. So we talk about some of Alabama's defensive woes and some other teams, and it's rightfully so. But you want to know what team is giving up points on over 50% of their possessions on the road, which would be almost sub 300 or at any point away from home? It's Auburn. It's Auburn. Now, it's masked a little bit because they do play fantastic defense at home and have had actually periods where they've had elite defense. At home, their floor percentage is 43%, which that mark would rank top 10 in all of college basketball. But it's really, really negated because when they go away from home, they are allowing points on over 50% of their possessions. And the opponent notwithstanding, I mean, at least until like the under 4 media, probably right around the 5-minute mark, maybe under 4 media timeout, Alabama State actually was running pretty efficient offense, and Auburn wasn't really defending that well. They get a Creighton team who last 3 has a floor percentage, meaning percentage of possessions where they score, 53.5%. Last 5, it's actually closer to it's actually in the high 50s. That mark would be actually almost number 1 in all of college basketball. That's up there with Gonzaga. That's up there with Duke. This Creighton offense is really, really humming at this point. Now, you also get an Auburn team who, as you can see defensively, their overall numbers mask how they've been from a home road split percentage. I talked about how they're so effective at home. And one of the things that has been the staple of a Creighton offense has been high efficiency, low turnovers, make jump shots. Auburn's defense away from home is allowing close to 50% effective field goal percentage, and has been allowing in several games, actually over their last 4 or 5 road games, almost 35% from deep. And so I look at this game and I see that Auburn is going to play I think Auburn is going to play at a fast pace, and Creighton's offense is really, really humming right now. You also have the inside game with Kalkbrenner, and you have the ability to play inside out like that and make jump shots. So the other thing is that while Auburn's defense, you can see here, they're 43rd overall in 2-point defense. Away from home, it actually gets discernibly worse. And to the tune of, they've actually been allowing over 51% over their last 3 games. They're allowing almost over 50% on the road. And so where I go with this one is I go to the first half team total for Creighton. First half team total for Creighton, and I'm going with the over on this one. So right now, what I found on DK is 33.5. I think there'll be plenty of possessions. I think when I look at how many possessions Creighton does average per game, especially in the first half, is that it'll be an efficient offense. And you have an Auburn team where at least early in games, like I said, early in games and on the road, their defense has not been that fantastic. It's masked by the fact that they hit a bazillion threes and they have so many athletes and can just outscore people, but it hasn't been as good as you might think. So Creighton, first half team total over 33.5. I don't mind the first half over as well. But I look at this one as I think there's going to be a good number of points in this game. Spread perspective, I'm probably not as interested. Overall, Auburn just has way too many athletes, I think, for Creighton to hang for a full 40. They might be able to hang around for a half, but when I saw that floor percentage about how often they're allowing points and how many possessions they give opponents in the first half of games, that's what made me migrate to the Creighton team total and isolate it. So Creighton team total over 33.5 is my next one. So, all right. Sosa and I both got thoughts on this one, and we actually have the same thought, I believe. So you have Midwest region, got number 8, the Zags, against number 1 Houston. You got Houston laying 5.5 with a total of 139.5. Sosa, take it away first.
Gonzaga, easy. Going away. They're going to tell you to keep the points after the game. Everybody's high on Houston. I spoke on this before the tournament started. As far as I'm concerned, Mark Few, his teams perform well when the expectations are not there. We expect nothing of this Gonzaga team, which means they're going to perform well. I like Gonzaga today, plus 5.5. I'm going to take them on the money line as well. I just think it's a Gonzaga spot. Every metric, a lot of metrics are going to tell you, Houston's probably a better defensive team in situationally, because they do a better job of manipulating pace. But you can't manipulate the pace when you're taking the ball out the net. I think Gonzaga plays with pace. They don't know how to play slow. They get the ball, they run on makes and misses. I think Mark Few gets it done today. Plus 5.5 for the Zags for me. And I think I like them to win. I like Gonzaga to win today.
Yeah, you have the nation's 2 longest Sweet 16 streaks on the line today, because the committee totally didn't set that up on purpose, just like they totally didn't set up Patino versus Cal in the second round on purpose, et cetera, et cetera. We all know that happens, but in all seriousness, Mark Few has not been eliminated in the round of 32 since 2013. Has not been eliminated in the round of 32 since 2013. Now, Kelvin Sampson, obviously almost as impressive, has not been eliminated in the round of 32 since 2017. But where I go with this one, and you can obviously see by my background that I'm on the Zags here, is that what beats the length that Houston has is the constant motion that Gonzaga has. The teams that really, really struggle with this Houston defense are teams that run a lot of high ball screens, a lot of dribble isos, a lot of like set stuff. Zags don't do that. If you get a chance today to just watch, there's videos on YouTube about the shell pattern of the Gonzaga motion offense, and it was largely designed by Mark Few. And there's just so many options, so many reads. The other thing that Gonzaga has is that they actually have a significant size advantage. You can see it here in average height, 160th versus 242. And then you go down and you look at the bigs with Huff and with EK. And you see that you have the Zags have the muscle to match Houston down low with EK. They also have the length to actually score down low with Huff, with a few other ones. And I personally believe that that the best guard on the floor is going to be Ryan Nembhard. Kid's playing out of his mind lately, playing so exceptionally well. This offense just moves and moves and moves and makes you defend. Not that Houston's defense is obviously elite, but the way you beat length and the way that you beat the wing length that Houston has is constant motion and motion away from the ball. Those are the teams that have given them some problems this year. Teams that run just like straight dribble ISOs and try to get like drive and kick. Houston can defend those in their sleep. What they have trouble defending is the constant motion that Gonzaga runs. So I think that Gonzaga can actually score relatively easy today. And it sounds weird to say against a defense like Houston, but I think Gonzaga for sure can score enough points to win. And then defensively, talked about floor percentage. Gonzaga is playing their best defense of the year. Their floor percentage over their last 3 games, 42.9%. They're even going back a little bit further, and yeah, it's a little slanted because some of those were West Coast Conference games against opponents. But even you factor in Georgia and St. Mary's, their floor percentage is 42.9%, and that mark would be good for top 5 in the country. So Zags are playing their best defense. They have the muscle down low with EK. They have the height. They actually have a size advantage down low. And so then I look for the wings and the guards, and that's normally where Houston makes a lot of their hay from a defensive standpoint. You can see their top 25 in steal percentage, and they're top 15 in forcing turnovers. But the Zags aren't turning the ball over, because when you have constant motion and you don't run a lot of dribble ISO stuff, and you don't try to have like an Arkansas offense where you're having guards just try to drive through guys and get to the rim, that's where Houston's elite athleticism and length can take over. That's not who Gonzaga is at all. So that goes back to one of my points that I was talking about a couple times during this tournament. Is it's not necessarily is like who is like the better team, because when you compare them top to bottom, the better team would appear to be Houston. It's stylistically, it's personnel, it's how they match up with this team on this day. And not only do the Zags match up very well with Houston personnel wise, the way that they run offense can be one of the poisons to this elite Houston defense. So Zags plus 5.5 was a pretty easy play for me, to be quite honest. And like Sosa said, I wouldn't be surprised if they win the game.
Hey man, worth the stab. Also, keep in mind something that casual basketball fans tend to forget. Ever since Mark Few locked back in with USA Basketball, he has ran probably the best offense in college basketball since, bro. The last 7 years, they've had the best offense in America. Yep. It ain't nothing new. Their offensive execution's never been a problem. Sometimes the shots just don't go in. But if you look at Mark Few over the last 7 years at Gonzaga, the offense is off the fucking charts. I mean, it doesn't matter who he has out there; they score.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that Gonzaga is able to do before we go to final thoughts and comments is, and I'll put up some more comments from the chat, is that their floor spacing is absolutely elite. And that's how you counter a team that has so much length and so much athleticism, is you space the floor and you make them defend not 94 feet this way. You make them defend this way. The whole floor for the whole shot clock. That's how you beat a team like Houston. That's how you score points against a team like Houston. So again, it's not that I think that like the Zags are like such a discernibly better team than Houston. At this point, for me, it's not about who's better or worse or about who's like elite versus who's ass. For me, it's about how does this team, their personnel, their style, what they do well, what they don't do well, who's against them, who's all that stuff, how that works against this opponent on this day. That's all I care about. That's the only thing that matters to me. So with that in mind, we will go to some comments and welcome some other people in here. Mom Who Bets is always with us. Appreciate you. Always, always, always. RJ3 saying, is Purdue choking today or next weekend? Well, it's Matt Painter, so it's going to be one of the two. I actually told VIP that I am completely off the McNeese and Purdue game today, and here's why. Metrically and stylistically, Purdue is actually the kind of team that can give McNeese all kinds of problems, especially with some of their size. The problem that I have is that twofold. Number one, Purdue's interior defense is just absolutely horrendous. It's been horrendous for the whole season. It's been just absolutely terrible. It got better as the game went on against High Point. Granted, I think that was with the help of some fellows in that used to wear stripes, but that's a different story. But seriously, Purdue's interior defense is just absolutely horrendous. So it's really hard for me to back them on this spread. So I'm probably just going to leave the game alone. I know that a lot of people are on McNeese. A lot of people are on the McNeese money line. I get it. I totally understand it. The only thing I would say with that is that just make sure you do like all your research if you're going to do that and not just be kind of sucked in to the trendy darling play, because there aren't that many darlings left, and McNeese is one of them. Actually, they're probably the only one left because Colorado State is from a conference just one step under a power conference. So, I mean, McNeese is probably the darling of the tournament left. So, like, it's easy to get sucked into that. But I can't trust Matt Painter. I just can't. I just cannot trust him. Especially not without Zach Edey. I can't do it. So,
also, we're not discussing the Michigan game on today's show at all.
I already gave a play to VIP, so
there will be no discussion of that game on this show today.
I can't talk about it. Yeah, because I gave a whole huge breakdown to VIP, and Sosa and I have we'll say differentiating thoughts on that game, but we'll leave it at that. Chuck in the house. Chuck saying H-Town. I don't think so. I don't think so. Logan saying battle over 13.5 points. Yep. Used to play Houston in the ACC when he was at Temple for 3 years. Yeah. Yes. He talked extensively about that. Yep. He said they've been kicking my butt for years. Yes. He is fired up. He is fired up for this one. You should watch those comments. It says, good morning. Not sure if y'all went over it. I can see Texas Tech smacking. Yes. Flow. Indeed. Sosa's all over Texas Tech, and
I'm just looking at the X-Men character wins today. Let's get it. Best of luck if you bet in that game. Anybody that got money on that game, best of luck to you. I have no analysis, no thoughts. You can hit my line if you want to know how I feel about it, but I will not be saying anything on YouTube whatsoever. YouTube, but I'm not saying shit.
Nope, me neither. And then any other final thoughts for today, Sosa? I mean, for some of the games that we didn't talk, other games we didn't talk about, BYU and Wisconsin, UCLA, Tennessee. Any thoughts on those?
I don't know if we're pulling the diamond tester out on Rick Barnes this week, but it's going to pop up soon. At some point in the next week, we'll find out how fake his chain actually is. I just don't know if I think he might be able to. The Moistenites might beat the tester this week. Just a thought. Just this week, and then next week we find like they get like the real one, and you're like, nah, these diamonds is fake. So,
yeah. At some point, it's going to happen for Rick Barnes. It's kind of like Matt Painter is like, is it is it today or is it next week? At some point, it's going to happen for Rick Barnes, and then BYU, Wisconsin. The line was a little weird to me at the start. I thought Wisconsin would be more like a 3.5. So from that standpoint, I might lean on BYU, but I mean, these are two jump shooting teams, and these are two teams that can run high efficiency offense. So I think if you're going to make a play on the total, it probably would be some semblance of an over. But what kind of just scared me away was I thought that this line would be more like Wisconsin -3, -3.5, somewhere in that area, and it's not. And the money is actually, as of right this moment, you have the bets are split 50-50, and you have actually everything's almost pretty much split 50-50, and the line's not moving at all. So I'm going to have to watch that one a little bit to see if I might be able to conjure up anything for that game. That game might be like the Purdue game for me, where it's just a complete stay off. So George, welcome in. Did you talk about the Aggies? Well, I mean, not on here.
Nope.
Yeah, we're gonna be cool on that one.
DM me. I might DM you. DM you. I don't know.
And Logan saying, I want everybody having a great day. It will be amazing. That's a perfect way to end it. Best of luck if you're tailing. Let's get all the money. Good luck to all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.